I know that you've not seen these before. That's kind of the point. So just do your best. Everyone has a highlighter, right?
Yeah.
All right, take your highlighter. We're going to go through this together. Starting with question number 1. I'm going to highlight the important academic stuff in here. So, number 1 says, explain how life has changed over Earth's history. What's the action word there? The verb. What does it want you to be able to do? Explain. The word in bold. We're not going to highlight that part. That's can words. So what does it want you to know? How life has changed. So highlight how life has changed. That's the important part of the question. Look at number 2. Sam, will you read number 2 to us, please? Biodiversity. Good. So, what's the action word there? Explain. Again, what are the important academic parts? So, the relationship. And what are the 2 things it wants us to know? Relationship, mass extinction, biodiversity. Highlight those 3 things. So, the highlighted stuff is the stuff that you should be able to do by the end of the unit. The end of the lesson. The first unit, or the first part of the unit, we had one of these. It was all about what? Rocks and fossils. Now we're looking at how we use those rocks and fossils to get information from them, like how species are the same or how species are different, right? So take just a few minutes, 2-3 minutes, go through each question, do step number 2, that's self-evaluation. How do you feel about that question? Does it seem too hard? Does it seem easy? Did you understand it? Are you completely lost? Self-evaluate. Just take 2 short, quick minutes. Explain how life has changed over Earth's history. But what does it give you? It gives you a picture. So what's the first thing you need to be able to do with that picture? Look at your little word chart. What's the first thing you should be able to do with that picture? Okay. Analyze is a good one. Are there any other words that might fit there? Describe might fit there. Not the best, but it's a good one. Determine what? What's the question asking? Okay, that's the second half. That's good. Determine how life has changed. What about with the picture, though? Analyze is a good one, and another good one would be interpret. So using those words, what kind of I can statement could you make from that? Say it again. Okay, that's a good one. Could we put the word determine in there as well? How about I can analyze the data and how life on Earth has changed. So you're going to look at, on the 3rd page, it's got the 6 blocks. You're going to put the I can statement in the first of the 6 blocks, which says question number 1. All right, you've got 10 minutes. I'm going to walk around and talk to you guys individually as well. You've got 10 minutes to talk as a group. Come up with one I can statement for each question. Which one are we looking at right now?
2.
Looking at 2? Okay, so what does 2 give you?
Data.
It gives you data. So what do we need to be able to do with that data?
I'm going to ask you.
He says explain it. Do you agree with that? You have your word chart?
No.
Let's look at that first.
All right.
So this is your data, right? This here is the data we're looking at, right? If I gave you that and nothing else, if I gave you just the picture and nothing else, no question, just the picture, what would you be doing? You'd be evaluating it, you'd be analyzing it, you'd be trying to understand it, right? What word besides analyze, is there another word that fits that?
Identify. Right? No.
Try again.
Analyze.
Analyze, evaluate, interpret. Those are your three good word choices there for that. So if I gave you just the graph, you'd say I can analyze this graph, or I can analyze the data. But that's not all it wants you to do. What else does it want you to do?
Like explain. Describe.
Okay, describe or explain what?
The picture, right? Max extinction.
What did we highlight earlier?
Read it. Relationship, max extinction.
So you would say something like, I can,
Evaluate relationship between max extinction and better.
when given data. Yeah. Okay, so I can identify and do what? What's the action word? Describe. So I can identify and describe what? No, you had it earlier. There you go. The characteristics the species shares. All right, so I already got Edgar's input on one of them. Let's head to Victoria's group. Victoria, question number 6. Ooh, I can discuss how bones are similar in detail. Is that what you said? All right, I can discuss how bones are similar in detail. Is there anything we could do to adjust that one? It's a good one so far. I think both would fit there. Describe's also a good one. So you could say, I can describe how bones are similar in detail. But what about the picture it gives you? So how about I can discuss how bones are similar in detail when given a picture, when given a diagram, when given information. Let's add that. I can discuss how bones are similar in detail when given a, we'll say picture here. When given a picture. So, let's take a look at the questions one more time from the beginning. I will read the I can statements we came up with. For number 1, I can analyze the diagram and explain how life has changed on Earth. Number 2, I can analyze the data and show the characteristics the species shares embryos. Oh, that's number 3, isn't it? Sorry, my bad. I can analyze the graph and interpret the relationship between mass extinction and biodiversity. Number 3, I can analyze the data and show the characteristics the species share as embryos. Number 4, I can interpret the data and determine the relationship between the baleen whale and the hippopotamus. Number 5, I can evaluate the diagram and determine which animals are most closely related. Number 6, I can discuss how bones are similar in detail when given a picture. Does this give you an idea of the things that you should know by the end of the lesson, end of the unit? So for the first set, we talked about rocks and fossils. For the second set, we're talking about the information they give us. How animals are related, how life has changed over time. The last thing I want you to do before you leave, take a look at where it says initial reflection. It's on the second page, the back. I gave some sentence starters for you down here. I want you to look at that. Go ahead and write 3 to 4 sentences explaining the answer to those questions. How do you feel about this? Does any of this sound familiar to you? Have you seen it before? Is any of it interesting? Are you excited about any of it? Take just a few minutes before we leave, 2 minutes, write your answer to that.
All right, so can you tell me a little bit about how success criteria has impacted students' understanding of
Sure.
the standards?
So when I do these originally with my students, I have them kind of go through each of the questions, figure out what they need to know for that unit, what the standards are. We kind of match that up so they have a better understanding there. I revisit this later on throughout the lesson as well, though. So the students end up going back, like on my actual documents, I've got check marks beside, or check boxes beside each of the numbers, so that we can go back and discuss it at the end of the unit, before they take their final test. You know, I ask them for each question, did we learn this? And if they say yes, they'll give themselves a check mark, which is great. Going through that process and having them come back and say, yes, I know I've learned this. Yes, this sounds familiar. Yes, I'm more comfortable with this now. Re-rating themselves in a self-assessment and being able to kind of summarize where they've grown, that's helped them tremendously. It's not just in the grades. My students score anywhere between a full letter grade, 10% better, to 15, which is really good. But it's also their confidence. They seem like they know it a lot more. It's also their understanding. They're better able to actually explain it. So it's not just that they think they know it. They actually do know it. So it kind of reinforces everything that I really want them to learn. It's not just the grade impact, but also the overall learning impact. They just become more successful in general.